Well aft on the longship known as Black Raven, Thorgrim Night Wolf stood looking toward the land, one hand resting on the hilt of his sword. With the other he tugged on the brooch that held the fur cloak clasped around his neck, freeing the metal filigree from his beard. The facial hair was not charcoal black anymore, as it had been in the younger days. A few weeks before, he had caught his reflection in a silver chalice, had seen that his beard was now shot through with white, like the last bits of winter snow that clung to the shady places and refused to melt. Underfoot, he could feel the ship slewing a bit in the swells, and he turned to give the man at the steering board an order to shift his helm, but he stopped as he recalled again that this was not his ship, and though he had been given an honoured place aft, he had no authority aboard her. The man who did own the ship, the man who commanded those Northmen who sat at the rowing benches, was Arinbjorn Thorisson, whose fine smile had earned him the name Arinbjorn Whitetooth, and he was just visible to Thorgrim at the opposite rail. Thorgrim considered saying something about the way the ship was twisting in the seas, but they did not appear to be in danger of hitting any of the other vessels, so Thorgrim kept his own counsel. He was not one to speak when it was not his business, and often didn't even when it was. As if sensing that Thorgrim was looking in his direction, Arinbjorn crossed the narrow deck and stood beside him, nodding toward the shore. "What think you, Thorgrim?" he asked, and there was a lightness to his tone, a casual quality that put Thorgrim on edge. "These Irish, will we get a fight out of them?"
"Hard to say with the Irish,"
Thorgrim replied, choosing his words with care. He had been in Ireland for nearly half a year now, had learned much about the country and the people, and largely despised both. Most of the men who had come from Norway with him and Owenolf the Restless had died in the violence that seemed to trail behind the crown of the Three Kingdoms like a swarm of bees. Those who survived had been left adrift in an Irish boat made of wood and hide, then were swept up in the great fleet of Olaf the White on his way to take Dubh-Linn from the Danes.
"Hard to say,"
Thorgrim said again. Arinbjorn was just a few feet away, all dark shadow and grey in the moonlight, bulky-looking under his fur cape. His teeth seemed to glow. Thorgrim looked away, toward the shoreline. He thought the dawn was coming up, the land more visible now.
"Sometimes they will run at the sight of a longship," he elaborated. "Sometimes they'll stand and fight. Often it will depend on what their neighbours are doing. Every third Irishman is a king of something, lord of some cow pasture. If they are at war with one another, they'll have no men or stomach for a fight with us. If they decide to band together, they can field a decent army, put up a real fight.